Hey, welcome to the channel.
Hello, hello.
It is July
Welcome.
4th, our nation's birthday.
May the
Ooh, sorry.
4th be with you.
I just stabbed you with my toenail.
That's great.
Okay. Well, on this July 4th, we're going to talk about protect the flame.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Protect the burning desire.
Yeah.
Yes,
Maybe it's like the Statue of Liberty flame.
I like it.
Epictetus says, protect your own good in all that you do. And as concerns everything else, take what is given as far as you can make reasoned use of it. If you don't, you'll be unlucky, prone to failure, hindered, and stymied. Protect your own good in all that you do.
Protect your own good. Yeah. What were we saying the other day? There was like the good is also. I don't know. We were saying something like good is also like the right thing or something, or like.
Oh, defining what good means?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Good, I'll take a stab at defining it, is like never losing sight of like the bigger picture that I'm a part of. So I'm always aware that I'm not the center of things. I exist in a much larger organism, and it's the health of the much larger organism that I should really be paying attention to and aiming myself at.
So paying attention to it is good.
And behaving that way. Like
yeah.
behaving like.
Well, I would. That's why I'm kind of hinting on like paying attention to it. Naturally, would hopefully spark into, living by it as well. Yeah. But yes, living by it. Yes.
Living by it, right? Yeah. And I would even say like good is to be clear about what I can control and what I can't control. Because if I'm not clear on that, then I'm getting myself involved in other people's business. And I'm gunking things up and I'm messing things up. And at the same time, I'm ignoring my own work. So I'm messing things up for other people, and I'm ignoring the stuff that I'm supposed to do. And so good is also like the kind of the recognition of like how this is actually structured. What I actually can control and what I can't.
Yeah, cool.
Because he says, as concerns everything else, take what is given as far as you can make reasoned use of it. It's like accept what shows up here.
And try to use it.
And use it.
Use it to your advantage somehow.
Right.
Or not advantage, but just use it.
I would say so. Yeah, use it to my advantage for sure.
Yeah.
Use it to my advantage, but like I'm no longer psychologically programmed to think of myself winning over somebody else.
Yes.
I think of myself winning as part of this bigger organism.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's not about. Yeah, the winning feels so much better when it's not just about me, right? It like actually has a meaning to it or something. Versus if it's just about like, oh, I need to win for my own good, for me, like that, like it feels like the energy from that kind of runs out or something.
Yeah.
But the winning for like, hey, yeah, it's also my win because I'm part of it, but I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it so this whole thing is better.
Right.
Now it's like there's so much power behind it, like
momentum,
yeah, all of that.
Because like you win once and then
like
the whole thing wants to win again.
Yeah, it's like you have like a green lights, like like go this way. This is good. There's less, still a lot of hard times, but maybe less like friction or like less. like molasses. It's like, no, it's going, it's moving. Yeah, there's many issues with it, but still, it's like, oh, it's going, right? Like, yeah, that's nice. Having that momentum is that's a cool thing. That's how we know that we're on the right path, when that momentum is going and it feels good. You're like, yeah, that's awesome. Like,
Right.
you can almost say, like, I figured something out. Like, that's cool.
Well, and that is interesting, because think about the idea of momentum in context of his last sentence, because he says, if you don't live like this, you'll be unlucky, prone to failure, hindered, and stymied, which is basically like, you will not have momentum.
Yeah, it will be hard to go forward. It will be like, like you're just struggling the whole time. And it's like, yeah. And so, like, the reason is the key there. The reason why we do that, like, is it only for me, only for me, or is this for everyone else? And if I go, no, it's for everyone else. Everyone else is gonna be happy when I get this thing for me, right? Like, it gets disguised in there, right? But it's like, no, like, the main core of that has to be about the others, not other people, but others, as like, others have to be in mind when doing that or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is interesting, because, like, just as a quick example, I think for a long time I was thinking about it like, I want to be a yoga teacher, and I would think about it in those kind of terms. But now it's like, I want to help other people experience like a better way of living through finding their physical fitness.
Yes.
And so it shifted at some point from like, this is what I want for myself. Please come and make this dream my reality, to, hey, like, actually, like, what's going on out here? I'm with all these people, like, our bodies are falling apart at crazy rates because, like, we never learned how to take good care of them and what our fitness needs were. Holy crap, I have some skills in this area and it's interesting to me. Let me get involved in this. And like, as soon as the mindset there shifted, momentum felt like it started to pick up.
Doing it for the right reason. That's funny. And today I bought the software. It's called Reason.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and now we're talking about reason, like the right reason. Yeah, because we can be doing the same thing, almost the same thing, but if the reason is this or this or this or this, you will get different, it'll flow differently, and there's probably going to be different outcomes because of that flow.
Well, yeah, because he's unlucky, prone to failure, hindered, stymied. Those are outcomes.
Yeah.
That's like me trying something and crap, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And
because it's based on what you want for yourself.
yeah.
So this is almost talking about like the ego, kind of like, hey, like, we have to get not rid of it, but we have to kind of look at the ego of what, like, that's like, I want it for myself. Like, that's what I consider ego, right? Like it's just me, it's just for me, I want this, right? But if that goes away by flipping the reason that this is actually not for me, yes, will I be there? Yeah, I will be there also, but it's not for me.
Will I be enjoying myself? Will
Yeah.
I be living my best life?
Yes.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, this
But
isn't
it's-
so that I can selfishly make that happen above
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like a
yeah,
competition
yeah.
of let my will win, and every other plan that everyone else has and that God has for this whole thing. F that.
Yeah. And it makes sense even economically, right? Because like, why you can't be selling something that's not needed, right? No one's gonna buy it, right? That's the problem with it. So really, we need to be, so it's like, what is needed then now there is actually market for it, right? And it's like, well, if I'm looking at it, well, what's needed? Well, I need something. Well, only you need it, nobody else, right? So what do they all need? Oh,
Or
now
what do maybe we all need?
Yes. Like what do we all need? Yeah, and now it's a totally different perspective, and now that reason changes into, yeah, I like that. Very cool.
Well, today's entry is titled Protect the Flame, and so far I don't know what the flame is. I mean, I think it's goodness. That would be the guess at this point, but Ryan, I think, will have
flame. I would look at it as like flame of anything that we get a hint on in our lives that thing is important. Protecting the flame of that which is important. Things like that are in this book, and protecting that in us so that flame doesn't die. So we have to cultivate that continuously, like be protecting it. And by protecting it, we're having interaction with it, and we're interacting with it, and now that's cultivating it already, you know? Yeah, I like it.
You want to read Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ryan says, the goodness inside you is like a small flame, and you are its keeper. It's your job, today and every day, to make sure that it has enough fuel, that it doesn't get obstructed or snuffed out. Every person has their own version of the flame and is responsible for it, just as you are. If they all fail, the world will be much darker. That is something you don't control. But so long as your flame flickers, there will be some light in the world.
Yeah, I like it. And then I go into like, well, what's the tool to use to protect the flame? And the one thing that was coming up that I only recently started doing is kind of reflecting and listening to Brené Brown about like gratitude, like actually like what is gratitude, and like how like to actually practice gratitude, and practicing gratitude is ultimately protecting that flame. And so like, yeah, so I was kind of about like just that's what came up as far as like, well, what are the tools to protect the flame? And it's like, well, like gratitude is one, and whatever was the other that I started with.
I don't think you said something else.
No, I thought.
Reflecting?
Reflecting, that's it. That's the other tool. Thank you. That's the other tool for protecting the flame. And like how I see it is that like at the end of the day, I started reflecting on that day and like what went right and what went not so right, but really focusing on what went right, and was I actually pointing in the direction that I wanted to go, right? Like doing the reflection of it somehow helps me to like really see it of how I was actually doing it, versus when I'm not doing the reflecting, like kind of going over that day, and it maybe takes 10 minutes or something, just like, hey, I met with these people and this happened, and then this is how that went down, and was that okay? Yeah, that was okay. Did I get something from it? Yeah, I learned so much from this and this. Okay, next one, and then I went to this, and so kind of going through this. And I'm not saying even like you might be like, hey, let's blog or or journal or something like that. Like that could be done that way, of course. But like I think that's very helpful to reflect on that day, because we want to use the little flames inside of us to point us in the right direction, and that reflecting is actually kind of looking back and saying, did I actually gone in that direction? And that keeps that flame kind of on.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the wellness journal that my boss got me is like a daily thing, and it hasn't been too long that I've been using it, but
yeah, like a debrief, like a retrospect.
it's like
it's
interesting how
important to
much
do
it's
those.
like pulling me towards it. Like
Yeah.
I'm using it every day because I do feel a sense of like, hey, it's good for me to stop and think about this. And there's like a lot of times that my inner monologue is just kind of like spewing bullshit. Like it will like say, this is what's going on, or like this person is like this, or it'll just say a bunch of stuff that like isn't really true. And then when I reflect and I look back on it, there's like enough cognitive dissonance between like, well, this is what my inner monologue is telling me, but then I sit down and I look at like the facts, and it's like totally a different story. So like that actually helped calm the inner monologue down a lot. Like my inner monologue compared to like, let's say a year ago, is a much nicer place to be. Like if you just heard it out loud.
That's nice.
It's nicer towards myself.
So it's nice to notice
Yeah.
that it is different.
It's nicer to myself, and it's nicer to other people. And I think also what helped was like really getting more clear on like,
It's nice to us.
what do you mean?
Like to you and me.
Oh yeah.
Like that voice in there, like it's nice to us, all of us.
Yeah. It's nicer. It's nicer
Yeah,
to
yeah,
me. It's
that's
nicer
sweet.
to you. It's
That's sweet.
yeah, like it's nicer. It's just nicer. There was one more thing. I don't know. It's like a bird. It just went away. But yeah. Oh yes. And then we can wrap up. It was just like getting clear on what's in my control and what's not in my control. Because I've spent a lot of time obsessing about this other person needs to change. This situation is not correct. This is bullshit over here. Like, I would say, on balance, like the majority of my inner monologue has been historically dedicated to stuff outside my control. And now I'm in a cycle of feeling helpless and powerless and, you know, just out of control with things and like a victim and a pawn in God's game or whatever it is. And now I feel like, you know, if something goes wrong, let's say, you and I have a fight, a ball gets dropped at work. I look at that situation and I'm like, well, it's not pleasant to go through this, but like, I'm no longer like catastrophizing my emotions. Like I'm like more, like I'm okay with like, oh, this is frustrating. I'm angry. I'm irritated. Like I'm more okay with the fact that I am feeling those things. And then I'm more constructive. So it's not like, oh, like I would used to go on and say what I don't like about everyone else, what I don't like about the situation. And now it's like, okay, what's my lesson? What am I here to learn? How am I supposed to do something differently from now on so that I can move more in a different direction that doesn't produce this type of outcome? And it feels very empowering, and like I can learn something and it doesn't need to be perfect, but I'm satisfied with it and I can just move on with my day and I don't need to spend the rest of my time like thinking about it. So yeah.
So the voice is nicer, and then this was the
Just being more clear on like what's in my control.
What's in your control and what's not in your control. Yeah.
And like just being more scrutinizing with the inner
Yeah, that's
monologue.
what I was gonna say. That is like, it seems like the things that we like what is not in our control is like what's a good indicator or a tool. Like, hey, well, what's in my control and what's not in my control? I would say everything that we're complaining about is not in our control.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a crazy thing, right? Like,
Right.
like you could just say like, oh, I'm complaining about this. I'm bitching about it, right? I'm complaining. I'm like, I don't like it. all of that is not actually in our control. So we're spending time on things that we can't actually affect in any way, except our internal view on it, right?
Right.
That is the thing that we have control over, right?
Our internal view, or maybe even how I'm engaging here.
Sure,
like
sure.
how am I showing up in this situation? Because I can state a boundary if that's what is required in this situation. I can address bad behavior in somebody else. I am powerful, and that is within my control. But like a year ago, I would have been like, nah. You know what I mean? And I would not feel good about myself doing, like, I would not feel capable of doing something like that. And I would just be like, no, I just want them to change without me needing to be an assertive, you want
the universe to change,
right?
Because you're in the center of it. And you don't change. Center of the universe doesn't change, right?
And this is the opposite of goodness when we're talking, because like the definition, at least in my mind, is like the recognition that I am not the center, that I am part of a larger organism. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy because we learn to be this. We learn to think and believe we are the center, and I think this just happens with this like love of, you know, your kid, right? And like we were just the other day we were talking about how humans are like has the longest adulthood length of a mammal, right?
You mean like a childhood?
Childhood, right. So it's like ultimately you need these other people to take care of you, right? And so they're all taking care of you. You are the center of the universe. So it's naturally ends up there in some way. But we need to
also because we're contained in these bodies.
Yes,
so it's like I only know what's going on in here.
So it's a natural thing to think that we are center of the universe, but it's not natural to stop there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, no, that's on the way to realize that we are not that, right? And so, yes, of course. I supposed to eat a lot of sugar first to realize I should not be eating all the sugar, right? Like, it has to be first brought on in order for it to be taking out. Good times.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for joining. Have a wonderful July 4th. We're going to go sailing. Let us know what you are doing today. Or if you don't live in the U.S., like, is this weird for you? We'll see you tomorrow.